Welcome to the Hobby Hangout. It's me, David. In this video, I'll be sharing how I painted up some Ravaged Star Veiled Touch miniatures in a Death Guard color scheme as a commissioned job for Miniwargaming. I was planning on creating a painting tutorial video walking through every single step I did, but realistically, you can find hundreds, if not thousands, of painting tutorial schemes on YouTube right now, using dry brushing, shades, contrast paints, layers, all sorts of different techniques. Probably a lot better than I could put together a painting tutorial. I'll still share how I went over it, but I did want to cover something else. As I started painting through these, I found myself thinking about why I decided to take on some commission work and how my relationship with the hobby itself has changed over the last little while. The reality is, the world's getting more expensive and unpredictable. Groceries, bills, gas, everything seems to cost a little bit more every month, and money gets a little tighter. Our family is no exception. So as a family, we've really started focusing on budgeting and being more intentional with how we spend day to day. And yeah, as a result, that's also meant limiting new game purchases and hobby splurges. And that's part of what led me to start doing some commissions. It allows me to bring in a little bit of extra income to the family while still doing something that I have a passion for and enjoy. But of course, it's always still a balance. Obviously, I don't want to sacrifice the joy and reflective and calming nature of painting that I find. So I do try to make sure I still find time to paint for myself. This ensures that the hobby doesn't turn itself into another job.
Now, let's get into how I painted these miniatures. I used Screaming Bell on all the trim after the base coat of rough iron and the AK grime wash. I mixed this with a glaze medium to help the metallic paint flow better. There is a lot of trim on these Veiled Touch models, so this is the most time-consuming part, which is why I decided to tackle this first. Take your time and use a brush with a nice long tip. For highlights to the Screaming Gold, I used gold from AK Interactive. The intention is to apply this sparingly and highlight to build up volumes and mimic the reflective nature of metal. I missed recording the next and final part, which was a final highlight mix of dark aluminum and gold, both from AK. Again, highlighting even the smallest portions of the metallic trim to build up that volume even more. Onto the armor plating of the models, I put on another layer of the cam olive green from Vallejo over the initial base coat I had already applied, as it had the grime wash from AK darkening it. However, I did leave that darker base coat in the deepest recesses of the armor. I also made sure to clean up any spillage from the trim onto the armor at this point. From here, I went on to applying highlights to the armor, I did this by mixing cam olive green and green sky, and I started the highlights, slowly increasing the amount of green sky, covering less and less of the model and moving and focusing on the top half of the figure as well. The final highlights to the armor, I started mixing green sky with green gray, both from AK, and again just covering less and less of the armor plating and focusing on the higher parts. For the steel parts of the model, such as knife blades, grenades, piping, I used gunmetal from AK Interactive. Once this was dry, I applied a black wash from AK and just a final highlight of the same gunmetal. I didn't want to draw too much attention to these parts. I have to say the cloth and fabric was my favorite part of all of the miniatures. I wanted a rich, vibrant, and saturated color. So I decided to use wine red from AK Interactive. The base coat was a mix of wine red and strong dark blue, both from AK, to ensure a nice dark coloring in the recesses. From here, I went on to highlighting and picking out most of the fabric and the folds with just a straight wine red. Then from here, I progressively mixed wine red with pastel violet from AK Interactive, covering less and less of the fabric and again focusing on the highlighting of the folds, all the way up to fine highlights of just pure pastel violet. Once this was completed, I took the wine red and made a glaze of it and coated it over all of the fabric. This helped tone it down and bring back the coloring to the wine red, but with the highlights up to pastel violet below it, it really popped the folds and made it very, very vibrant. I'm really happy with how the fabric turned out in the end. For some of the miniatures, such as the Terminators, they did have steel portions that I wanted to draw attention to, such as the claws. For this, I did use a final highlight of the dark aluminum. For the bones, I used a base coat of Beastie Brown from Game Color, Vallejo, highlighted with beige from AK Interactive, a final highlight of ivory from AK Interactive, and finally a wash of Seraphim Sepia. You can see some of the miniatures my son was painting in the background. For the leather straps and pouches, I used burnt umber. I then mixed burnt umber with strong dark blue and went into the recesses, going back with burnt umber again, and then mixing burnt umber with ivory for a final highlight. After spending that time focusing on the commission piece, it really reminded me why I try to keep a healthy balance with the hobby.
At the same time, this has pushed me to be more creative with everything that I already own. Instead of chasing every new release, I've been focused on enjoying the miniatures I already have sitting on my shelves. And that in itself has actually started me developing my own game. A little bit of playtesting that just finished here. It's my own miniature agnostic skirmish game. The goal is simple. Take the models I already have, mix them together in an unexpected way, and just find fun again. It's been a blast experimenting, playtesting, and realizing that I don't need to buy something new to enjoy the hobby in fresh ways. This in itself is also sort of something that I've enjoyed recently and appreciated actually from Miniwargaming themselves, the company that had commissioned me to paint up these Ravaged Star miniatures. They still make a lot of battle reports and content on their YouTube channel. If you haven't seen them before, please check them out, of older editions of games. And these videos prove that fun doesn't have an expiration date. Just because a new release has come out doesn't mean you have to use it. You don't need the latest rulebook or brand new miniatures to have an awesome time at the table. Their Mordheim series just came out and it's been a blast watching those. So yeah, I am painting these guys in a Death Guard scheme. You can see them. I'll be showing clips right now in front of you. Yes, I'll be painting these in Death Guard style. But instead of another step-by-step tutorial, I wanted to share where my head's at. Balancing life and hobby, finding joy in what I already own and creating new ways to play without spending more. If that sounds like something you're interested in, stay tuned to this channel. I'll be sharing more soon about my homebrew skirmish rules and some upcoming playtesting videos. I hope you enjoyed this painting video. As I mentioned, I really did enjoy painting these miniatures. They do have a lot of detail to them, but bringing them out really lets them shine on the tabletop. And really, that saturation of color really makes them pop. I really enjoyed that. And I think they're just a great alternative. I've never really done any army painting as a whole. I mean, I've tried to build armies in the past, but I've never successfully painted an entire army for myself. I have painted armies for others, but it's been a while. And this definitely brought me back and reminded me of how much time it takes to paint an actual army, multiple units. This definitely took quite a bit of time across 6 weeks. But at the end of the day, I was happy with the end result, happy with the quantity of miniatures that got painted. In total, there was, in this batch, 31 and previously another 10. So I painted 41 miniatures of the Ravaged Star Veil Touched miniatures in this Death Guard scheme. So I'm hoping Miniwargaming is happy with them.
And now, let's check out the finished minis.
Hopefully we see them in some of their videos upcoming. As always, we'll continue to have fun with my family, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care of yourselves, enjoy your hobby, and remember, you don't need something new to find something fun. Bye.